Takaka Library up here, which is a really cool little library. Really lovely staff. Good, good range of books. Nice, pleasant environment to hang out. Mostly, what I struggle with, which is kind of happening all around the country, and nobody wants to talk about it, because it's almost like such a people don't even realise. It's like that old song, "You don't know what you've got to," a parking lot song. But you've got an area in there which is a work area, which people can use laptops and computers and whatnot on there. But even in there, you've got this creepy mission where it's okay to sit there and actually talk or make noises or show absolutely no consideration for people that are concentrating. And part of the whole sort of way that this has been sort of sold to us is that the idea is that, oh, no, libraries are new and modern and they're all about innovative and getting people in the community involved in them. And that's cool, because you've got one part down there and there's like kids stuff happening and bands. But I think what we've forgotten while we've gone along for sort of making out like now libraries are there to babysit people, and now that's not fair, but it's the element of actually libraries are also meant to be a place which were reserved for people to go and do some scholarly research, some serious contemplation, or maybe even just to take some place out because they weren't actually getting any place at home that was actually free of noise and constant interruption, and that had a stressful kind of impact upon themselves. And nowhere are we having a discussion about, well, okay, fine, we can have all these things, but you've got to reserve some place to the library or community in general for that particular task. And one is, I think, actually very important, is the mental health issue. And again, it's not really being, it's not really being pointed out that actually that this isn't even, okay, cool, got to have a place for kids, but you've also got to have a place for senior citizens. And again, in this time and age, the idea of actually having a place at home where people can actually go somewhere and be quiet and actually just have a bit of time themselves, that's pretty hard for a lot of people. And the library would, in some places, would often be that place where they would go. But above and beyond that, of course, is the other thing, which is like, say for example, you've got a water rate situation, or there's some event happening in the community, or somebody wants an historian and they need to find out some particular past event. They need to be able to go into a place and actually really focus on very technical data and a lot of information, which requires actually quite a bit of mental energy, which becomes even harder when you've got an environment where it's actually the idea of the librarian wandering around going, shh, doesn't apply anymore. And we all laugh and go, ha, aren't we glad that she's gone? Well, no, I'm not, actually. I liked my shushing librarian, because as a person that actually is involved in dealing with lots of information, I find it really, there's room for chatter. If you want to go talk on social media, well, guess what I'm doing right now? Bash it out, wander around, talk away. There's noise. But the idea of actually having some place where you can actually go and focus, not so much. And finally, I guess to me, it's just like that sort of is an attack on democracy, because a lot of those issues, in terms of the things that people get proactive, happen from information that you're able to publicly source. And this is just one more example of this increasing mission creep to basically block people's access to good quality information. In case in point, we also have the nearly 500,000 books that have been thrown out by the National Archive libraries, which they refer to as, again, it's creepy when libraries start using 1984 speak and they talk about something being rehomed. It's not been rehomed, they've been thrown away. They've been worse than that. They are being pilfered through. So, for example, a first edition copy of Jack Kerouac's On the Road book has also been decided to be thrown out. I'm pretty damn certain that when that was rehomed, it probably fell into someone's back of someone's boot, and then got resold as a very valuable auction book. So there's not just a killing of information, there is grand larceny and looting going on, and there needs to be an inquiry on this issue. I think we need a full list of what books have actually been thrown out, what were the grounds for them being thrown out, and we also need to have an inquiry in terms of some of the excuses for which have been explained, which again often image laundered behind the idea of Te Reo Mare. And that's again, I'll make this very clear, I'm not attacking Te Reo Mare, because the reality is a lot of the books that actually we have found out so far that have been thrown out are actually stories on the Pacifica, Maori, Indigenous and Aborigines, which is why I'm saying that we shouldn't just take the public relations, the slick imaging, which shows us the cover appropriately enough of what we've been told is being protected and looked after. And you must be sick, because there's a person there standing there and she's saying all the right things and wearing a feather in her head, when in reality we find actually that there are actually lots of very valuable information about iwi, whānau and hapu that actually has been effectively suppressed. But we're only going to find that out if we actually have a proper look into the detail, and because the devil is in the detail. And of course, this goes on again, attacks on the idea of public media funding, the idea that you have to go into the National Archives now with a real me identification, because basically, apparently, you're just using your driver's license to show that you are who you are, to look at a bunch of papers, isn't a go. The fact that actually that information has also been, a lot of it's been digitalised by questionable information technology companies that have questionable copyright laws, which again, then you look at the situation of, again, we've talked about the internet and the idea that we use hate speech to censor internet by both the left, by National and Labour, while it's been done supported by tech companies and offshore governments that have terrible human rights records and a history of censorship, combined of course with overall media consumption by the usual suspects. But at the beginning, at the end of the day, what really matters is, in terms of that front line, which is your local library, and the idea of what's happening in our local libraries, and that these are places that are no longer a research or scholarship, or a place that actually, allow the elderly citizens to actually, maintain some of their decorum and dignity. That's a real big concern, and I think we need to kind of head out of that point straight away.